Sorry about that. So today we're going to talk about Mycroft, which is a open source platform. That's basically, I guess, the only way I can refer to it as an Alexa replacement. Their website is mycroft.ai. You can learn more about it. I'm assuming if you're watching this that you probably know a little bit about it. I'll include some more information in the description of the video once it goes into the archive, so there'll be more information about it. But basically today I'm just going to teach you how to make a skill. This one's fairly basic. This one's going to use an open API, which means it doesn't really require any authentication or anything like that. So it makes it fairly easy to demo. That way we don't have to deal with authentication or passwords or anything like that. Really, the only thing we're going to deal with is one API key, but that's pretty easy to get. So basically what we're going to do, and I haven't refreshed this, so let's do that. I've put a little information, but this is the TSA wait times API that we're going to be using, and then this is another API here, the IATA codes. And basically the IATA codes are used to allow me uh, to take the airport codes and then turn those into the full names, and then eventually you could take the full names and then fuzzy match and to use that to get the airport codes to use with the wait times. So we'll talk about that more. And then really the only thing this requires is the requests module. So basically the the MSM when you install this skill should do that for you, but in case it doesn't for some reason, then you can just do the pip install. And then, like I said, the working features of the skill are going to be, what is the TSA wait for RDU? What is the TSA wait at RDU? How long is the TSA wait at RDU? And then that can be any three-letter code of the airport. And then eventually you could add in fuzzy matching for the airport name. So you could ask it the airport name and then get the code via a match and then give them the wait time based on that. So basically that's what we're going to be doing. That's what I'm going to be going over. This is based off of the base Mycroft skill page. So if you look at, and I'll include this link in the description as well, but the base Mycroft AI skill, there is a template. And off that template, you basically can fork this and modify it. And so that's what we're doing. So everything I'm going to be showing you is just a fork of this base template. So you can use that as a guide if you want. Basically, I'm going to use Cloud9 as kind of an IDE to show you initially. And I'm going to zoom this in a little bit because let's see. So Cloud9 is just an easy IDE editor that I use to test my code before I actually put it into the actual skill. And so this link is in the description of the video, and I also will share out this information as well. And so basically what I've done here is I kind of put the boilerplate code that's in the skill in here, and this is how I built it. And basically what I've done is I've imported up here just a few things that I'm using for the skill. And or well, this isn't the skill yet, but this is the code that's going to do the skill. And basically what I've done is I've created a function, and so I'll talk about what this does here in a second and how this works. But this is all a part of the function, and then you could see this is the actual part where I have an environment variable that's my key, which I'll show you in a few minutes where to get that. And then I'm manually selecting or setting an airport here just to test with, and then I'm setting wait time equal to the value that I get from the function I'm calling and making that value uppercase. Because of the API, all of the values are in uppercase code. So in case it comes in lowercase, which it does from the Mycroft instance, then we want to make sure we uppercase that when we send it to the function so that way it'll find it correctly. And so basically this function split out, all I'm doing is I'm pulling from two different APIs here. And so I'm using the requests module, which we've imported up here. And this allows me to basically pull information from a website. In this case, it's an actual API from the TSA. And you'll see at the end, I'm tagging on the airport code. So this is basically where I'm just saying, okay, this is the full URL. And then according to their documentation, the URL at the end just needs the airport code. So all I'm basically adding to the end of this is the airport code, which I'm passing in here, right? So if we start back at the bottom, the airport is equal to RDU. I'm passing that in as uppercase N to the function. And now into the function, that's where I'm using airport, right? So you see I'm classifying it here. I'm using it, basically passing it in and using it here. And so now this is the wait time, right? This is the wait times for RDU, and it's the actual, I believe the documentation said the last 25. So if we go to that page, which is then the documentation on the GitHub, we can see that it's an XML format of the last 25 wait times at the airport, right? And you can see where they've put an example of DCA here. And so that's what we're doing. We're getting the wait times, right? So now I have a wait times object basically that I can use. And then the same thing for the airports code. We're calling to this web URL and giving it an API key. So what that is that's the IATA codes database. So you just go here and say, hey, I want free access. You give it some information and then they give you a key. And that key you'll want to save because as I've stated in the skill, you'll have to, I don't think I've actually put it in here. We'll modify the README in a few minutes, but you'll need that key in order to make this work. And that key will go inside of your mycroft.conf file and it will pull from that. And I'll show you the main code in a few minutes that does that. So basically, that's what we're doing here. We're getting all the airport codes so that we can then take the airport code and get the full name so that when we tell the user back the wait time, we're giving them the name of the actual airport rather than just, saying the RDU or whatever back again. So this line here, I'm just making a simple if statement where the status code should always be a 200 if it was successful. So I'm basically saying, okay, if this is not 200, then it probably means we weren't able to find the airport code or what have you to get this far. And I don't want to go any further if we don't have the airport code, because if we don't have it, then we can't go any further and we're just going to hit exception after exception further down and eventually it's going to kill it anyway. So by starting that early, we're basically just putting an if condition saying, okay, if the status code is not 200, then we're basically going to say, hey, we can't find, excuse me, whatever that airport value was in a response. So we cannot find whatever airport value is airport code. However, if we do have a successful, then it's going to continue. And this is where I'm basically creating a JSON output. And why I'm doing that is because this data is in an XML format. Typically with most APIs, especially REST APIs, you'll get the data back in a JSON format anyway, so you don't really have to do this that much. But in this case is XML. So I'm taking the JSON format of that XML response value and setting it to equal JSON airport codes. And then I'm just making a value called response equal to response. And the reason I'm doing this is because if we print we run this, save it. Oh, there we go. Whoops. So the reason I'm doing it, I don't even know if it'll show it in this data, if it'll scroll too far or not. Yeah, it doesn't. Basically, the reason I'm doing it is there it's like a list of addict objects. So in order to get the actual response codes, I have to do this response. So I'm basically saying call that value with the response. So because this is addict, so I'm just calling this key out of it and setting that to response. And so then I'm looping through those codes right here. So I'm doing a for loop and basically saying, hey, if the airport value, right, that we specified earlier, if that matches a code in the data that we pull back from the API, which has all of the airport codes and their names, then set the airport name equal to the value that we get from that data, right? Because in this for statement, code is coming out of the response, right? So code is the dict object on the line, and we're just pulling that key out, and then now we're setting it. Once we verify that it's the same, we're just going to set that to airport name. So basically, this is RDU International is what this is setting right now because uh, you can see based on the codes, they've got all these different values, and then these values also have full names of the actual thing too. So you can see, for example, here that the name of this one, Marnal Railway Station, right? So that's the name value that we're setting here that we're pulling out. And so now that we have that, we're going to set the output for the response text and then match the wait times. And so same concept, right? Now we're going to say, well, the output is equal to the text value that we got from the wait times up here, right? We pulled the airport wait times. Then we're going to try to match on the first one because it's got 25 results, but they only really do the results, it looks like, once every day or so. So when you look at the output, there's not a lot there, and I could show you what that output looks like right now. We could just do print output here. Let's see how it's just a bunch of XML data, right? And it's got the checkpoint index number, which is different for each airport from what I've seen. It's got the wait time value, and then it has the date that it was created. And so you can see that these aren't often, right? 7/12 at 1914, and then we have one 7/12 at 4/11, and then we have one 7/11, right? So it looks like it's, what is that? Every 12 would be 16, 12. They're like 13, 14, 15 hours or so it updates. So it's not a great thing, but it's just a good use case to show you how this works. And so pull that out. So we're just grabbing the first wait time, and this is just a regex. So I'm basically looking through the whole thing. And I can't do a regex match here because that only looks at the beginning of the value. And here we want wait time, which is a little further into the string. So in order to do that, we're doing a regex search, and I'm just looking for wait time, and I'm capturing the digit value in the middle. And I'm searching through output, which is this data here that I just printed out. And then I'm just setting the raw wait time equal to the very first match, which is going to be this wait time right here, right? This would be 0. This would be, where's the next one? This would be 1 and so forth. So I'm just matching the first one and then setting the wait time the same way. So, sorry, current wait time matching the group object, right? This is the first match from this value. And then that's going to give me uh, this, it's going to give me wait time, one, wait time, and I don't really want to print that. So rather than making something complicated and having to split it or figure out, how to clean it up, I just did another regex search on that and pulled out just the digit, right? So current wait raw, pulling from that and just setting it to wait time. So now this value is basically just going to be number one, the wait time value. And so the last piece is I'm basically setting a little condition just to make it pretty, where if the wait time is less than or equal to 1, then the current wait time is going to just be a minute value, right? And any other value, we're going to set it to minutes. So that way it speaks correctly. It speaks to minute versus, 1 minute or 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, and then we're going to return that output. So that's the function. That's the whole piece of the function that's basically returning everything. And so now we're back down to the bottom where we're actually calling this data, right? So I'm setting my API key as an environment variable in my Cloud 9 environment here. And so I'm pulling that API key out, setting it as API key, manually setting the airport as a lowercase RDU to confirm all my stuff is working. And now I'm just going to set a value, a string to, you know, the data I get back from calling the function with the airport.upper. And then I'm just going to print that, right? So if I run this script again, now you'll see, let me get rid of the other print that we were doing. I don't know where it's printing from. Either way. So now you'll see current wait time at Raleigh-Durham International Airport is 1 minute. And if I change this to, say, LAX, save it, same thing. Current wait time at Los Angeles International is 1 minute. All right, if I change it to Boston, I think. And these I don't think are very accurate from what I've seen, but it's a way of at least showing you how it works. So now you can see current wait time, Logan International is 2 minutes. So now we have code that basically works. So now what I would typically do and how I built this skill is I would then fork the template from here, right? So you clone this data, clone this skill or this repo rather, and then just copy this out into your own, private folder, private skill, however you want to do it, right? And now once you do that, you'll have, of a version of this data, which looks like this. You don't really need this .sh file anymore. That's kind of old. All you really need to do is put your requirements in the .txt file. So in this case, we're going to put requests there because you have to have requests installed in order for this to work correctly. And so basically, you fork that, copy that over into a new skill, right? And I could kind of show you just how this would work. So if I were to just copy this, and then we're going to make a dir, just call it TSA test. And now I'm going to do a git clone and now I'll have a Mycroft skills directory in here. So CD to that. And now you see I have all the other stuff in there, right? So now basically I'm just going to copy that into my TSA test folder. And I'm going to do a -rf so it does the recursive files. And now if I cd into that TSA test, you see I have that, right? Now I did it the wrong way. I meant to actually just copy the file, so I should have done the asterisk like that instead so that I would have everything. So instead I can just do a copy or sorry. So cd into that and just copy everything. Whatever. Either way, you get the point. So now I have the code, and this is the code. And so in here, what I've done is I've just brought in the things like we were talking about before, right? So basically the request, the JSON, the regular expression, the OS, and then these are the base things that are pulled in from the actual skills template. And so all I've done here is just basically modified that base template code that I was showing you. And so what we've done is we've brought in our function that we had before, right? So the get wait function, I put a little debug in just showing the API key so I could verify that it was working. Obviously, we would want to pull this out, which I'll do later here in a few minutes. And then we have the wait times piece that we were doing before, the airport codes, and then everything else, right? The difference that you'll notice here is not really anything too much, right? It's everything pretty much the same all the way through here for the most part. All of this is the same, right? Where we start to kind of differ a little bit is when we start building the actual Mycroft class, right? So this is the TSA wait skill. That is the class. This is, if you look at the skill template, this will be the hello world skill. And basically you could just modify that and name this, whatever you want your name to be. This just has to be consistent across everywhere that we're going to put it, right? So just make sure that it's the same. And then go to the super, TS wait skill, right? So we're doing this. I don't know if you need this anymore. This is kind of built from before in the old template, so I just haven't really changed that. I'll have to find out if you still have to do this or not. But either way, that's there. So we're building that. And then I'm setting the API key here. And so I'm pulling that from the config file, right? So like I was telling you before, you'll have to go in and modify your config file. And so what I mean by that is if I show you, so you'll see right now I've cleared mine out before we had the session. So you can see it's empty right now, right? So for this skill to work and for it to pull that value, we would just need to put something in here. So if we so we're going to modify this. So the way that it should look is pretty straightforward. Typically it's JSON, right? So you at least need to make sure your data sits in that. And so for this example, we're going to have ours called TSA wait skill. And then there's going to be another set of brackets, and typically it should look like that. And then in here, we're going to do just like it needs, right? It would be airport API key. and then whatever that value is, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever it is. And that's all you would need in your Mycroft config file for this to work. Now, let's say you already had something, right? Like you had my Twitter skill or something like that, right? Like I've even showed in the Twitter skill, for example. If we go in here and look, I think I put the wiki page for it. Yeah. So let's say, for example, you had something like this already, right? In there. This question's come up a few times. So how that would look is no real different, right? It'd be just the same. So it would look just like this. So if I didn't have, if the Twitter skill stuff was up here, then it'd be the same thing. I would have a comma, and then the TSA, weight, skill, and so forth, right? Same kind of thing. And then I would have a comma there. So just to kind of show you how it works, that's how that would work, right? So in the skill, that's what we're doing that. We're pulling out that API key, which is the only thing required of one of those requests in order to get the data back. So we're setting that API key value from what we pull from the configuration file. And then from there, this is the boilerplate code in the template, but basically I've created something, an intent called wait time, and I'm telling the builder to build it. Now this has changed in the new version. I haven't updated this for the new version yet, but this is the old, based off of the old template still. So there I'm telling it to require a TSA wait keyword, which I'll show you in a second. And then I'm optionally telling it that I need an airport. And I'm using optionally because I've noticed there might be a bug when you do required here. I'm using airport as a regex value, which I'll show you in a few minutes as well. And so rather than have it break, I do optionally here, and then I just do a check to make sure that I have the right airport code, or then I give it a different error message that it speaks back to you. So it works either way that way. And then I'm just registering that same intent here. And so uh, basically the handler for the wait time is taking the airport code from the message. So, like I've been telling people in chat, the message object has a data object piece of it basically where you can pull out pieces of the message. And so in this case, I'm basically using the regular expression, which I'll show you in a second, and setting that to airport. So I'm telling the message, or I'm pulling out of the message data that airport value that I'm setting and setting it to airport here. And then I'm debugging it so I can see what that value is as well. And then I'm setting the wait time just like before equal to the function call with the API key in this case, right? Since we have to make that API key call now. And then I'm speaking back what I get as the response from wait time. That's it. That's the skill, right? Now, the big piece of the skill, however, though, is the vocab and the regular expression, right? So in order for this skill to kick off, I have TSA wait. So I could say, what is the TSA wait time? How long is the TSA wait? So forth, right? And will trigger. Now, the piece though that's cool in the way that we're able to do multiple airports is by using a regex. And so I have this airport regex, right, that I told it that I required, right? And I'm requiring, or optionally, sorry, optionally this airport value. It's all I'm doing here is saying TSA wait, and it could either be at or for, right? So I could say, what is the TSA wait at RDU, or what is the TSA wait for RDU? And it's going to pull out anything after at or for and set that to airport. That's this regular expression. That's what I'm doing here. And so by doing that, I'm able to basically more or less, like I said, uh, do multiple airport codes based on whatever you ask the Mycroft instance. And so that's basically the skill, right? And the same thing in the vocab. It's just the TSA wait keyword and TSA wait. And so by using the regex with the vocab, I'm able to then be able to use multiple ways of asking it different airport codes, right? So for example, and you may not be able to hear it very well with the mic, but I'll try to get as close as I can. Hey Jarvis. Oh, I gotta turn him up. Hey Jarvis. What is the TSA wait at RDU?
The current wait time at Durham International Airport is 1 minute.
Right, so I can also ask it, hey Jarvis, what is the TSA wait at LAX?
The current wait time at Los Angeles International is 1 minute.
Right, so the data is not very good, I don't think, from their API, but at least it gives you an idea of what it can do and how this would work. Um, I know I kind of went through some of the stuff fast, but I'm trying to keep the video kind of light and not too terribly long. But the code is all there. If you have questions, like I said, I'll be in Slack. I'll put my information as well in the description. You can see the GitHub, my GitHub up here as well. I'll put all of this in the description of the video. Um, if you have further questions, concerns, please give me the feedback. Like I said, this is my first time live streaming or doing a stream. I'll hopefully get a lot better at this in the future. Um, but that being said, unless anyone has specific questions that are in the chat, I can answer those real quick, or otherwise I'll probably just end the stream. Or if there's anything I maybe didn't explain very well, now's the time to ask. Okay. Well, I'm not hearing or seeing anything in the live chat there, so I guess I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. And like I said, we'll have the next videos ongoing here with Mark Ones and other devices and how you can interact with the Mycroft and your Mark One. And like I said, this will just be an introduction to skills, and there'll be more higher level skills in the future. And if you have questions, feel free to reach me on Slack or Twitter or wherever you can reach me and ask me anything you need. Thanks. Bye.